have on the left here our resident Maverick player, I believe. And that is John Kassari.
Yep.
And John v. John, we got Harduvel over there with Reanimator.
Another LA grinder, a regular on the local legacy scene. And he's one of the guys with like foil, Japanese, what have yous. So his deck should be probably pretty attractive. So, yep, his reanimation targets are Angel of Despair, Alice Norn, Imperial Angel, Iona, and Sphinx of the Steel Wind, all of which are singletons, and 3 copies of Jin Kataxis. 3 Animate Deads, Brainstorm Days, Entomb, Force of Will, and then lands.
One of the cards that we were talking about before that has kind of strange text, Sylvan Library, that you look at a Sylvan Library, it's not the real text for the card. Animate Dead is another one of those cards.
Yeah.
And a part of the reason is that when you cast Animate Dead, you understand what it's trying to do. It's trying to take a creature out of the graveyard and put it into play. But the way it's written, once it's in play, it doesn't work anymore.
Right.
So they had to come up with some really high, concept text in order to make Animate Dead work.
And that's actually the huge, in my opinion, that is the huge success of Innistrad as a set. If you look at like Alpha and Arabian Nights and Antiquities in the Dark, which is sort of like the ancient times of Magic, in my opinion, the designs are so flavorful and resonant. They do not necessarily play well as cards. They read poorly and are complicated. And then some of the middle Magic sets, the cards are simpler and play better and read fine, but there isn't like the resonant flavor.
Yeah,
they
lose a certain kind of just
personality.
Yeah,
and soul.
Yeah.
Like,
the soul moves away.
Right. And Innistrad is sort of the peak of functionality meets flavor, which is why I think this set is a 10 out of 10.
One of those things that someone asked me if Wizards of the Coast was paying me to praise Innistrad. They're not. It's just they did such a good job.
If any of you are familiar with me, like posting stuff online, you know that I am critical when I feel there's something to be critical of. Innistrad is a home run.
Yeah, I mean, I've got tons of things that I have been critical about with regards to Magic. I mean, I think that organized play has made some small stumbles in the past. I think that some of the limited formats of the past 2 years have been pretty close to the terriblest to emphasize it with some incorrect English.
Right.
And for me, I don't get paid by Wizards for that.
Right.
I want to give you good opinions, and I think Innistrad, kudos. Wow. Whatever that design and development team, whatever they were drinking, keep them on, like if it's orange juice in the morning and coffee in the evening, if they were eating certain meals, keep them on that. Just make sure that they keep that stuff going.
Keep cranking out Innistrads, yeah.
One actually really cool thing about Innistrad is if you are the kind of person that likes to make up your own cards, either with your friends or in your head, Innistrad is the best set I've ever seen for inspiring you to make cards.
Right.
I mean, I know that just amongst my friends and then people that I work with at Star City Games for these events, we've all talked about different cards we've made. I've seen people that have made, like, just pretty much anything that has to do with a horror movie.
Yeah.
Like...
Yeah, the design is inspired and inspiring. It is very well done.
Did I tell you about the Innistrad card I would love to see? It doesn't exist, obviously.
Right.
Red for a 0/1 human that if you lose... whenever a permanent you control goes to a graveyard, your graveyard, deal 1 damage to all other creatures and players.
He is, let me think what this guy is representing. Is he like producing earthquakes, or is he like a jackhammer operator? Or
you could imagine that it's going to be a 1/1 or a 0/1 human. You could imagine an image of like a child with flame erupting from it.
Sure.
So this is the carry / fire starter / any unstable psychic that you see in horror tropes where like something goes wrong and then they're like, ah, no. It doesn't take much effort to come up with all kinds of different fun, cool horror trope cards for Innistrad. Making them good, that's where the effort comes in.
Yeah. I always thought I was a little weirded out by Stormkirk Nobles couldn't be blocked by human claws. I thought it should be can attack while the opponent controls a untapped human because you're like it doesn't let you in the house. If it, you know what I mean? So it's like no, obviously you can't come in. You're a vampire, so they all need to be tapped, and then you can start getting in.
That's funny.
But that's a schlockier design, but I think it's kind of cute.
I think you'd have to make the noble a lot more powerful if it couldn't attack if there was a human in play.
Halt. No, you can't come in the house. I know you are a vampire. I love the designs, like the flavor of the old designs so much. Like, why does the Abyss not kill artifact creatures? Because robots don't have souls.
It's true.
That's the reason why. It's like that is awesome. That's an awesome reason.
That's really good. Yeah. Or like a card like Island Sanctuary.
Yeah, it's like,
why can't you attack? Well, because I'm not drawing a card. I'm hiding on my little island sanctuary.
Right. You can either fly to me or you can swim. Those are the two options. So flying works and island walk works. Now, unfortunately, Island Sanctuary is a horrible design because there's plenty of casual decks that, with their full 60 cards on the table, can't actually beat an Island Sanctuary. So that's the success of Innistrad. It is the flavor of Island Sanctuary without the text box of Island Sanctuary.
I mean, I kind of feel like Innistrad is a set full of Form of the Dragons.
Right.
And when I saw Form of the Dragon, my jaw dropped, and I let out a little giddy smile.
Right.
Or laugh, I should say.
Right. In the last couple of years, I think those designs have been kind of... I mean, M10 was an exception. M10 was sort of like Magic getting its soul back, I think. But in the years previous to that, I felt like something had gone missing there. That, the game was too mechanical, I guess, for lack of a better word. I think John is actually going to... John Kassari, our Punishing Maverick player, is actually going down to 5 cards right now.
Yuck. Not fun. For those of you who are just joining us, I'm Adrian Sullivan.
And I'm Patrick Sullivan.
And we are here at the Star City Games Live. Second event of the season. It's here in Los Angeles. The standard event is already in the books. And we saw there Mono Red take it down.
Yep.
I'm not surprised by this, actually. We are not going to see Mono Red take it down here, unfortunately. So that would have been kind of sweet for a back-to-back Mono Red takedown.
Yeah, but, I mean, it's good to mix it up for the viewership at home, you know what I mean?
Not every time can the tournament just sway to our, desires.
Right. Yeah, not every time. Been good getting to know you.
John v. John. Semifinals here.
Yep. So Grove of the Vern Willows on turn 1, fetching out a Dryad Arbor. So if you're a reanimator here, who's your fatty of choice?
My fatty of choice?
Like in this matchup.
Right. My end game rather than my beginning game. My beginning game I want Gataxias, but my end game, Swords to Plowshares is one of the only cards that can do anything to me, so it's probably going to be Iona on white because that also stops a whole bunch of other cards as well.
I don't know if the Maverick deck can really beat an Imperial Archangel, although I guess you can get
a knight big enough. You can get a knight big enough, no problem. Whereas I think if you get an Iona on the table on turn 2, almost all of the plays that matter suddenly shut off.
Right. Some foil Japanese Ponder. Ponders into Force of Will and 2 lands.
It's a fishy Ponder there. His hand right now, Brainstorm, Force of Will. I think that is a careful study, but I'm not 100% sure of that. And second Force of Will in hand. As the games progress, we're having less and less people here in the venue, so we are going to have to probably start dropping our voices at some point.
Yeah. So Zenith for 2.
Zenith for 2 can represent, let's see, Tarmogoyf, Kassali Pride Mage, and Gaddock Teague.
I think he wants
Scavenging Ooze. Oops, there's the one Scavenging Ooze. There's the obvious one.
And that's going to induce a Force of Will. Because that Ooze is a nightmare.
Yeah, Ooze is not so good if you are the Reanimator guy.
Looks like he just drew Sphinx of the Steel Wind. Careful study.
2 cards go. There's a ponder and an island drawn from that.
He's definitely... 2 land. Sorry, a swamp and a sphinx, it appeared. Oh, sorry,
Angel of Despair.
Angel of Despair, sorry.
Island. Or sorry, polluted go. Green Suns for 2 once again. Ouch. We've got the Force of Will ability to do it.
Yep. He does not want to see that ooze.
John Harduvel here. He's got an Exhume in his hand.
I mean, it seems pretty attractive to fire it off here and just go get your Angel of Despair and start beating down.
He's pondering again. Exhume.
Yep.
Force of Will. It's going to be a shuffle, perhaps? Or are those good enough for him? Force of Will. Fetch, fetch. Doing the shortcuts. Get 2 at once. Would not be surprised to see basic and does he have a 3rd basic or just he does have 4 basics in his deck. And John jokes with his wasteland there. Exhume. No creatures in John Kassari's yard. Angel of Despair in John Harduvel's yard. Grove.
I know that, I think I saw a Knight of the Reliquary in John's hand, so he's missing white mana.
He says go. John Harduvel has used a lot of energy to get to this point to have a 5/5 in play. Only 2 cards in hand. Force of Will has done its toll on John's hand as well as a careful study.
Yep. He's got Plow in his hand too now, so white mana is actually in pretty good shape.
And John Harduvel says go. I think that might have been a land. I was wrong.
Nope.
In for 5. I think it's John going to say go to John. He does.
It's a Stoneforge Mystic.
Oh, another go. In. I believe that John Kassari is at 5 now.
Yeah.
And he says Brainstorm main phase. I like this play. See if he can push anything else out there. Reanimate. Can't see what the other 2 cards are. It looks like a fetch land and something.
A Sphinx of the Steel Wind. So the Force of Will, the Force of Will basically locks it up.
John Harduvel, I think he, in a flurry of activity, accidentally revealed his Reanimate, but I don't know that matters so much.
It doesn't matter.
And there we go. John Kassari's down. To the sideboard. John Kassari definitely tried to force, to threaten. Oh. And we're back here for a moment. We got another opportunity for a trivia question here. For those of you who are just joining us, I'm Adrian Sullivan.
I'm Patrick Sullivan.
Last round, we saw the beginning of our top 8. There was a California state champion who was defeated.
Yes.
And the question I have for you, what was the name of the top 8 player who is the California state champion for 2011? We watched him last round. He's in the top 8 coverage. And if you can tweet the answer to hashtag SCG Premium, you can get 6 free months of SCG Premium. Now, only one of the people out there who actually gets the correct answer will get the 6 free months. But if you put the answer, hashtag SCG Premium, you can get all kinds of excellent various writings, videos, other work by the various people we have at Star City Games.
The whole 9, and there's a lot of good content on there.
Now, my favorite video content, I always say Michael Jacob because he's the master.
Yes.
And when it comes to the written content, I right now I think that my favorite regularly writing person for Star City Games is probably Patrick Chapin. Patrick, who just came back from a finals loss against Conley Woods in Orlando. Both of those players playing their own respective brews.
Yeah, and it just sort of shows, I mean, that the narrative was sort of frustrating sometimes yesterday when it's like, well, blah, 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 blue-white Delver and, blue-white humans, those are the only decks. There's so much of it in the top 8 or whatever. And then 2 masters of their craft go and play decks that are pretty much off the radar. And,
Totally.
End up meeting in the finals. So I am very rarely doom and gloom when it comes to metagames. I think there's always more to be discovered. And
I generally agree.
Orlando confirms it. I mean, there are some legitimately bad metagames from time to time. Like
Absolutely.
Cobblade metagame was simply bad. And there's other examples.
I personally enjoyed it, but that's okay. I understand. I agree that it was an oppressive metagame.
Right. But often people are just not trying hard enough to figure the things out.
No, John Kassari definitely tried to force through a threat against Reanimator, and his threat was the Scavenging Ooze with Green Suns for 2. Both of those times it was nixed by Force of Will.
Right.
His sideboard options, he's going to be able to bring in Bojuka Bog, which he can get with a Knight of the Reliquary. He'll bring in Tormod's Crypt, also a very good card. Double Path to Exile is almost certainly going to come in just to mop up any creature that gets into play that he can target. And then I expect to see Red Elemental Blast hit as well. Do you think he brings in Choke?
Probably not. I mean, he's got so many basic swamps, and he can operate pretty easily off of. The combination of basic swamps and Daze as a potential reset for a tap island, I think, means Choke is just not likely to get the job done. The big question mark I've always had with these sort of decks is, like, with the Path and Plow, is my opponent actually going to allow, like, is he going to reanimate targetable guys? Often a plan that the Reanimator decks have against the white decks is to try to reanimate something that can't be touched.
Yeah.
And if you end up drawing a bunch of Plows and Paths, and they're reanimating, Iona set to white or Imperial Archangel, then that's not very effective. But if you end up being caught with your guard down when they're reanimating Jin Kataxis, you just lose the game. So it's sort of a it's a difficult thing to figure out, and often just kind of involves a lot of guesswork.
So the response is, now that John and John are playing each other, in the Swiss they would not have had each other's deck lists. But here they have perfect information, which will definitely inform the Reanimator, the Reanimator deck's sideboarding. Show and Tell is usually one of the ways in which the Reanimator decks dodge the graveyard hate. So that's very common to bring in. But without Leyline, it's a little bit less good, but it's still fine to just dodge the Reanimator hate.
I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of Show and Tell against the Maverick style decks, because if you Show and Tell a Legend and they have Knight, then they can Knight up Caracas and the game's over. So I think you're probably better off trying to fight the graveyard hate than going to a Show and Tell plan.
If that's the case, then is Pithing Needle and perhaps...
I think Pithing Needle is good because of the Ooze. Ooze is one of his main hate cards. You know he has Tormod's Crypt. You know he has Knight of the Reliquary. He's got a ton of great things to target. And
I also like Dispel as a means to fight swords and paths.
Yeah, it's just a question mark of, like, actually what creature package he wants to have access to, and what he thinks his, like, sequence is going to be. Whether or not he thinks fighting over Plow and Path is worth his energy. So
I do see that Enlightened Tutor in John Kassari's sideboard exists, so he does have the equivalent of multiple copies of Tormod's Crypt should he want to also bring in Enlightened Tutor. But again, we can't gut our deck too much in order to bring in hate. We cease to be the deck that we were.
Right, I mean, he's got a couple... I mean, I could see just cutting the Stoneforge, Mystic, and the Jit, just shaving that right out of the deck, because that doesn't seem like it has...
And the Sword, yeah, if you cut out the entire Stoneforge package, that's 5 cards.
Right.
Punishing Fire also seems suboptimal. That's 8 cards.
Yeah, he has plenty of easy cuts, I think. So he definitely wants the Enlightened Tutors, the Red Blast, the...
That's 5.
The Metamorph and the Crypt, I think, are guarantees, and then...
That's 7. The Bojuka Bog is 8. We haven't even gotten Path yet.
Yeah, Bojuka Bog might be just replacing another land. Like, I don't know how stable the colored mana is, but obviously if Punishing Fire goes, then Grove could theoretically go, whatever. And then Phyrexian Metamorph is another potential candidate, I think, to be brought in, so...
Metamorph is an excellent candidate.
Yeah. But yeah, I definitely want, if I'm the Reanimator deck, I definitely want the Pithing Needles here. They have no end of good targets out of the Maverick deck.
Looks like John Harduvel is mulliganing.
Yep.
For those of you who are just joining us, I'm Adrian Sullivan.
And I'm Patrick Sullivan.
Right now, 1-0, Reanimator is up against Punishing Maverick. And it's John v. John. John Harduvel with Reanimator and John Kassari with Punishing Maverick. This is our semifinal match. The winner of this match will go on to face the winner of a match of Stoneblade versus Maverick.
Yes.
Without Punishing Fires. And I think we see a keep there from John Harduvel after the mulligan.
I don't know, his eyes bugged out a little bit. I'm not sure if he's still... He does not look sold.
The Magic the Gathering polo shirt, John Harduvel.
Yeah, MTG Deals is an LA area dealer and runs some tournaments.
Harduvel does mulligan. One thing about Reanimator is one of those decks that can incredibly aggressively mulligan because all it really takes is a 3 or potentially 4 card combo, with that 3 or 4 card combo being any land, Entomb, and Reanimate.
Yeah, and Jin Kataxis is pretty good at catching you up from
Exactly. Jin Kataxis, absurd at catching you up.
Yeah. MTG Deals is a pretty sweet store if you live in the LA area. It's a lot of space. I've interacted with the owner a lot. He's a good dude, and I'm an advocate.
John Kassari we saw earlier today, and also yesterday. Yesterday he played the blue Wolf Run deck to make a top 8 finish.
Yep.
And that list, very interesting. The blue spells essentially Ponder, 6 Unsummons, 3 Snapcaster Mages, 4 Frost Titans. Frost Titans, the best Titan in a Titan War, and 1 Consecrated Sphinx.
So let's see what our 5 cards offer up.
Word from the other match, Stoneblade is up a game, 1-0.
Alright, so John seems settled in with his 5-card hand.
Turn 1 Enlightened Tutor. I believe we will see the Tormod's Crypt.
I'm a little surprised he didn't play it on... Well, that's a weird thing, right? Like, playing the Enlightened Tutor on turn 1 means that you're running into days, but casting it on turn 1 and getting Tormod's Crypt means you're potentially exposing yourself to Pithing Needle, so...
Turn 2, John lays Tormod's Crypt. And John has to think about this. John Harduvel has to think about this. Does he want to use the resources to Force of Will? He says fine.
Oh, it looks like John only mulliganed once. I'm sorry.
Second mana. Oh my goodness, look at all the hate. We see the ooze.
So
we have fetch and response.
So how do we feel about hard casting our fatties this game?
Well, show and tell. Show and tell is a thing.
Yep. I'm just always apprehensive about bringing that in against the Knight of the Reliquary decks.
I mean, it's reasonable to be apprehensive, but at the same time, it gives you another path if they have awesome graveyard hate, and they have to have the Knight of the Reliquary.
Right. Well, they never not have it, though. So point, counterpoint.
They have to have it? Well, they always do.
They always do. That's why they're them.
Brainstorm.
So I guess he's probably digging for days.
When I see a show and tell.
Yeah, he does have show and tell.
Look at that Underground Sea. Did he borrow that from Ely?
No, this guy, I told you, man, this guy's got foil and Japanese everything. So he has some sweet show and tell options here. He has Ellis Known and Iona that he could potentially set up here. So
Iona on white, devastating. Land go. In for a big 2, okay. And it's a pass back. I think I see a path in Kassari's hand. End of the turn, John Harduvel fetches. I think just trying to thin it out.
Well, he's shuffling away in Iona.
Oh, yeah, the Brainstorm too, yeah.
I think he's shuffling away in Iona.
What swamp is that?
That is a Euroland.
I was curious about what kind of investment he put into his basics.
That's not a significant one compared to the rest of the deck. Those are worth a couple bucks. They look cool though. I mean, the art's nice and
Show and tell. The Iona definitely in his hand, as well as Elishnorn, but I think he's going to go with Iona.
Iona set to white.
Yes, sir. It's going to be a hard one to beat.
Incorrect.
And there's the knight.
Incorrect. Do you have it? Yes. What percentage of the time? 100% of the time.
This is exactly what you were talking about.
Right.
The situation where show and tell to dodge the graveyard hate, and you're like, nah, they just have Knight of the Reliquary. And I'm like, well, they have to have it. Well, they always have it.
Yes, they have to have it. Correct. That's part of the contract of playing this deck. It's just there.
You know, there are certain players that feel that way when they get their Goblin Guides. Always in the opener.
And you know what? That's true as well.
Caracas.
Hooray.
Wah, wah, wah. Okay, what are the outs? Another show and tell to put something scary into play.
And he's enlightened tutoring for the Metamorph now.
Ugh. In. A barrel full of hate from John Kassari. Entomb does not do very much against Tormod's Crypt plus the ooze.
Nothing does anything. He needs a Python Needle to start to be able to do anything. And he needs the Python Needle 2 different cards.
One of the things you can do surprisingly well with green-white is when you're playing against a deck that's kind of combo-rific, what you can do is you can say to your opponent, I understand you are a 2-card combo deck or perhaps more cards for your combo deck. I'm going to play a card that makes you have to be a 3-card combo deck. Can you do it?
Yep.
I'm going to make you be a deck that has to be a 4-card combo deck. Can you do it? Now I'm going to make you be a deck that has to be a 5-card combo deck. Can you do it?
Yep.
Okay, you're scooping it up.
Yep. So, what are your thoughts on possibly bringing in either Echoing Truth or Wipe Away?
Wipe Away, yes. Echoing Truth, maybe. Wipe Away, yes. I still think you like the show and tell, honestly, because with the graveyard hate, dodging it is good, and I think that just on the averages, there's a good, if it's on turn 3, like what, 46 or so % chance that they don't have it, 47% or so. I think that's correct.
I don't know what I can't explain this to you in any other terms. They never not have it.
Well,
whatever you think the odds are, it is 100%.
I understand what you're saying.
I'm sorry. This is just the way these things work. Like, how many times have you played against a Primeval Titan deck where they got to 6 mana and they somehow didn't have a Primeval Titan in their hand?
A couple times.
I've never had it has never happened. That's part of the stipulation. It's like, you will have them in your hand 100% of the time when you have 6 mana. Do you remember Lotus Bloom and Dragonstorm?
Of course.
100% of opening hands contained one. That's why the deck was so good, because it always had one in its opening hand.
I think this might be maybe it's the people you play with. Maybe they do you cut the deck when you play with them?
Yeah, I mean, I hate to be that guy, but it's just, I don't make the rules, man. They just are what they are.
For those of you who are just joining us, we're in the semifinal match here. Reanimator versus the Punishing Maverick deck.
They're going on to a third game here. The Reanimator deck was able to win game 1 pretty comfortably after a mulligan to 5 from the Maverick deck. Multiple Force of Wills to keep Kassari from being able to Zenith for a Scavenging Ooze, and was able to win with a Angel of Despair, while John was missing white mana to cast Source of Plowshare, neither Reliquary. Game 2, we saw a plethora of hate cards
Yes.
from Kassari, plus a good clock to win the game in relatively easy fashion, and now we're on to the third game.
This is the 8th round of Magic we've brought to you in Legacy. 14 different archetypes we've shown you on screen. And like I said before, that's a little below par.
Yeah.
Usually we get a little bit more than that even.
John Harduvel just looked like someone pooped in his soup. Looking at that 7. So we might be going back. Yeah, we're taking a mulligan.
And John Harduvel's deck, very, very able to mulligan. And, you know, if it were not for the fact that Knight of the Reliquary apparently is 100% going to be in the hands of any player playing Maverick, that he would have had a really good game there with that mulligan into his package.
Yep. It looks like Kassari is keeping his opening 7.
I'm not sure if you played during the era of Ritual Necro.
A little bit. That's like
Did they always have Ritual Necro?
No.
Okay, just checking.
No. I mean, they did insofar as there's so many tutors in the deck that they found it by turn 2 every single game. But no, it's not in the same way that Knight of the Reliquary when you show and tell a legend in.
Okay. And a small discussion of some kind. I'm not sure what about.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So I guess they're asking him just to re-randomize.
I certainly do not miss the era of the game where a flip of the top card of a deck could cause a game loss.
Yeah, I was talking yesterday with Ricky a little bit about this, about how rules enforcement back in the day was somehow like not really about catching cheaters, but also about being super draconian in terms of rules enforcement.
Yes. One of the things that it's actually...
Is John going to 5 now?
I believe he's going to 5.
Yeah.
One of the legacies of that for me with my play now is I actually had accidentally flipped over the top card of my opponent's library a number of times. Mm-hmm. And now to this day, I actually never complete the cut. I do the first stage of the cut where I take the cards off and put them back down, and then I let them finish. And I know that I don't have to do that anymore, but I always would somehow just accidentally flip the top over, and I got something like 2 or 3 game losses for it back in the day, and I was just like, okay, I got to stop doing that. I've got to stop being so excitable on my cutting. And
yeah, Kassari's just done the magical equivalent of the Dirty Bird, where your opponent mulligans and you rearrange your face down 7 cards into a smiley face. So I guess he's pretty happy with what his opening hand looks like.
It's like the rub-ins there a little bit.
Yeah, I did that back in my more precocious days.
Never mind.
Oh. So we're underway after a 5-card hand?
Magic cards. Hand me some of them. Thank you.
Sorry.
2 more?
So turn 1 Verdant Catacombs, turn 1 Savannah from Kassari.
I just tried to make a smiley face with 5 cards.
Yeah.
It's hard to do.
Right. You had to cut the nose.
No nose.
Yeah.
Okay. Birds of Paradise. That is an ugly Bird of Paradise.
Yeah, I think it's from I think it's the M10 Buy a Box promo.
I hope it's only a singleton in his deck. It is only a singleton in his deck. Brainstorm off of a very expensive card. I'm not sure how much that Underground Sea is worth.
It's 4 and black bordered, so it's probably like $4.50-ish. Yeah, West Wise gave me sort of non-enthusiastic nod of the head, so I'm off by some amount. But.
It approaches, probably for some of you who are rent payers, well, now we have probably more than many of you pay for rent in a month in play on John Harduvel's side.
Not if you live in Southern California.
Thankfully, most of us do not live in Southern California.
Yeah.
Underground. Ponder.
Yep.
Careful study hanging out in John Harduvel's hand. We see a reanimate,
A Thoughtseize, and a Tarn.
And that looks like a shuffle away.
Yeah. I think he needs some sort of... I think he has a reanimation spell in his hand, and he's looking for some way to dump a guy in the graveyard.
Careful study, reanimate. And the random card is a... looks like a Delta.
Yep.
Bird of Paradise makes 3 mana if John has another one. 3 mana means Green Sun Zenith for 2. Means Knight of the Reliquary. It means a lot of different cards that John Kassari can put forth as a threat into John Harduvel.
Worth noting that Kassari had Enlightened Tutor and elected not to Enlightened Tutor on his upkeep for Tormod's Crypt. So
Perhaps
he has to have some sort of plan already set up for this turn.
He says go, it looks like.
No way. He's got lands in his hand.
Did he just... Okay, good. I was like... I saw him point the finger, and I was like, is that a go?
We're probably asking how many cards are in
there we
Harduvel's
go.
hand.
That makes sense. And a Wasteland. Just looking for a little mini Time Walk. Is he going to add anything else to the board besides that?
No.
And a go. That means he does not have a Stoneforge Mystic in hand. He probably boarded him out, like you said. Other 2-drops, not particularly anything exciting other than Scavenging Ooze, honestly.
So Kassari is looking to possibly fire off the Enlightened Tutor here, but the thing about it is running the Enlightened Tutor out there before you actually have, before Harduvel's done anything, means that you go get Tormod's Crypt, and if he Chosen tells you, or he sets a Pithing Needle down, then it's a pretty big disaster.
Here he's getting the show and tell
he's getting a Metamorph.
Insurance
Yeah.
via Metamorph.
Right.
I actually like the other art for Metamorph.
Yeah.
Draws the Metamorph. Show and tell, no longer a good option for most of John Harduvel's best reanimation targets.
Yeah, but the coast is clear for him to actually just straight reanimate something.
This is true. Windswept Heath. Three mana here. Is he going to present Green Sun Zenith for 2? Green Sun Zenith for 2. In the other bracket, Stoneblade wins 2-0, defeating Maverick.
All right, that's going to draw a Force of Will. I think Harduvel has a Careful Study in his hand that he's trying to sandbag. Oh, he actually pitches the Force of Will. Never mind.
There we
I was
go.
going to say he needs to get it. He needs to do it like now, basically.
Reanimate, land.
He has 2 Animate Deads and an Underground Sea in his hand.
Yeah, animate dead. I should actually be more clear about what kind of card it is. Right now, John Kassari, I think, is poised to take this over.
Right. He just needs something to ice the graveyard in case Harduvel rips an Entomb. That's kind of a, like, last order of business here to lock the game up.
And Kassari attacks for 1 off of the Noble Hierarch, enhancing the Bird of Paradise. Harduvel draws, says go. Fetch. John Kassari could get a Dryad Arbor here and go for the beats. That's actually the same damage as he had before, though, because the Noble Hierarch will turn off. Or he could get some maybe better random land.
I think I would get the Arbor here.
There it is, the beats.
Arbor Day.
Now, Arbor also represents the ability to not be drawn and still have mana.
Right.
Like, if you put a Summoning Sick Arbor into play, it feels very sad. Arbor no longer sick now that it is John Kassari's turn. Can attack for 2 with the Arbor.
So we're still looking at a hand of Metamorph. I believe Kassari's hand is Metamorph, Plow, and lands.
Brainstorm.
Right. Yep.
It's going to be a powerful one.
This could be a big draw.
Land.
A Pithing Needle, a Show and Tell, and
It looked like a land to me, perhaps?
yeah, an island. Where the cards.
And 2 cards are going to go away, taken away by the Polluted Delta. This is effectively making his Brainstorm what it wants to be, which is a quasi-ancestral recall.
Yeah, some huge selection going on here. And the Python Needle gives him insurance against a Crypt or an Ooze or another Reliquary as well.
John Harduvel lays a land and then fetches immediately. Gets a swamp. Now has Swamp, Island, Underground Sea. Facing down Bird, Dryad Arbor, Noble Hierarch, Savannah, Windswept Heath.
Oh, he ripped Inkwell Leviathan.
Wow. And John Kassari reveals Phyrexian Metamorph.
Yeah.
Oh, nope, Windswept Heath.
Yeah, the Metamorph...
He can still cast the Metamorph. End of the turn, where we're going to see some fetching here. And I think John Kassari is just checking to make sure he can still Metamorph, perhaps. He's...
It was a little weird when you show and tell the Metamorph, when you show and tell the guy in.
I like doing that, but
he gets to attack. He gets to attack right away.
John Kassari chooses to take 2 pain to cast the Metamorph for 3 mana.
Nope.
Oh, nope, he's not taking the 2 pain. He's got the blue there. Or is that an attack for 1 in the air? That's an attack for 1 in the air. So yeah, John Kassari takes 2 pain. Leviathan v. Leviathan.
So now
there we
Hardball's
go.
dead.
Important thing to note, yes. Thank you, Drew Levin. Metamorph cannot copy a creature put into play with Show and Tell if the creature was also... They don't come in, they're not able to target each other, essentially. Or not target a...
That's weird because it feels like, it's like, okay. I mean, this is my admittedly amateurish understanding of the rules, but it's like, we both put something face down. All right, now they're turned up. All right, Metamorph triggers, and whatever you just put into play is a card in play. Like, that's how it
feels like it should be, but apparently that is not how it is.
Fair enough.
Thank you, Drew. Drew is perhaps, I think, my favorite go-to person when it comes to... Oh, there we go, the handshake. John Kassari gives a little clappy clap there.
I'm surprised that Inkwell Leviathan was still in his deck. He actually brought it in.
One thing about the Inkwell Leviathan is that it is a creature that, if it comes into play, can't be targeted by the removal, and it's a blue card for Force of Will. So perhaps it's just better than another target.
Well, you also know that you're dead to the Metamorph, because, like, if they Metamorph your guy, you can't attack, and they can also attack you whenever they feel like, because their island walks on and yours is not.
Absolutely. So, we have a winner for our 6-month giveaway for Star City Games Premium.
And those show and tells were stinky. No, they were stinky.
The winner of our Star City Games Premium is Grayson Parker. That's the Twitter handle Bako Fried.
So,
and the answer to this question, the California State Champion, that would have been Nathan Calvin.
The champ.
Now, Nathan Calvin really impressed me. I don't think I've seen a young player... he's 15. I don't think I've seen a young player that impressive in a very long time.
Like a younger, friendlier Josh Ravitz.
Friendlier is a...
yeah, all right. There you go.
For those of you who are just joining us, we're about to start the final match of Legacy here. It's been a long, about, I would say, 39 hours since we started broadcasting.
Yep.
And maybe 38. And it's Reanimator versus Stoneblade.
It is not
No, pardon me. Punishing Maverick versus Stoneblade.
Two of the honest Abes of the format duking it out.
And Stoneblade beat a non-punishing Maverick to make it here.